What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Thursday. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great week so far. Although, let's be honest, you're probably having a much better day today, considering that most of crypto is up today. Bitcoin is up 1%. A lot of the altcoins seeing some mild gains. Actually, some of them doing quite well. Now, we did see the other day that institutions, especially with Grayscale, they are looking to invest. In fact, some of them are investing in some of the altcoins right now. So the question is, should we be starting to focus our attention on Bitcoin? Well, currently, Bitcoin is in a bit of a pickle itself, right? We are sitting basically right on some serious support, and a lot of Bitcoin bears are calling for lower levels like 7K, 6K, 5K. I've even heard some people say 4K. So is this actually a possibility, or do you think the sentiment is getting just a little bit too negative around here, or is this just a regular pullback, right? I mean, most of them are around that sort of 40% to 35% level, right? You could see here yesterday we came down to around that $7,915. This morning we pumped up to about $8,116, but currently we are stuck at these levels. So I want to talk about that because I do think there is a potential that we may have had that bottom at 7.7K. Now, obviously, you could turn this video on and, the price could be to the moon or the price could have fallen out of the bear flag, right? That's the beauty of it. We don't actually know, but I'm going to provide some of my opinion on it today, and you let me know what you think about that. And if that sounds good, well, you know what to do. Also, if you are not subscribed to the Crypto Zombie channel, well, we do this every single day, and yeah, you're probably missing out if you're not subscribed, so definitely sign up for that, and yeah, that's about it. So let's dive in. Let's have a look at the chart. So Bitcoin dominance still pulling down 66.1%. Look at these gains today. 33% synthetics, 13% Monero, 0x12, Chainlink 11, basic attention 10. So altcoins are having quite the rally while Bitcoin is trying to figure out what to do. Now, we do know that Bitcoin could very easily rain on their parade by putting in a massive move, and I think that's where we should start today's video because that is the most important, because you're noticing not a lot of volume still, below 300 million for Bitcoin, not too good. Over here on Coin Farm, still relatively neutral, leaning slightly towards the buy, and if we actually come down here, you notice that the longs are actually ahead today, so you could tell that today is a little bit more bullish than yesterday, not by much, but that is something to keep in mind as we go through these charts. So obviously we could see, essentially we have this giant sort of descending wedge, but the good news is that Bitcoin did not get stomped, or actually did get stomped out by the VPVR, which is around that $7,946 level, the most accumulated level for Bitcoin right here in this range. And currently we have respected it and we are going the other way. So this is very good short term, but let's analyze this a little bit more because we have been saying for quite a while on this channel, we are looking for a very, very massive move. We really haven't gotten it. In fact, we've just been going sideways essentially since September 26th. So sooner or later, this thing is going to blow. And these things aren't going to get much closer as far as the Bollinger Bands are concerned. Now, obviously, we are sitting below the pink line, below the basis. So we'd like to get above it for a bullish breakout, right? But having a look right here, essentially, we are putting in, what does kind of look like a bear flag, which is textbook bearish, but at the same time, you know how crypto is, and if everyone's looking at the same thing, well, the whales are gonna do the opposite. The thing I want to point out right here is we have had 3 points of contact. 1, 2, 3. Actually, let me simplify this chart for you a little bit, get all this stuff out of here. You can see we had 1, 2, 3 points, and we have actually respected that trend. Now, this trend is important not only because it's part of the bear flag, but also because it's part of a very significant trend line, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So short term, we would want to sort of get above that $8,152 level. That would be where the volume range had the most accumulation. And look at this, how crazy this is. In the current volume range, we have the majority of it around 8,332, which is exactly where the center of this green line literally is meeting. I mean, they're literally meeting at an X. So that is the level we need to get up today, guys. We need to get above 8,332. We need to close above that minimally on the 4-hour. I'd love to see it on the daily. And that would actually be very short-term bullish. You can see right now, looks like we're kind of trying to pump. But compared to the previous times, you know, we had put in this green candle, boom. We put in this green candle, boom. We put in this one, we're kind of struggling. So that's kind of signaling to me that it is a little bit weak right now. However, you know, if you look at what Scott Melker said, he's a trader at Texas West Capital. He basically says that while the short-term trend of Bitcoin is somewhat bearish, he says the long-term trend of the asset still remains optimistic. To quote him, he says, "I'm not feeling particularly bearish long-term. Even a monthly close below the $7,777 level is likely a temporary stop on the way to higher highs long-term." He says, "In my opinion, on a macro level, I remain extremely bullish on Bitcoin. Sometimes you got to go down to go up, right?" And here's the thing. You can look at all the times Bitcoin has had these massive pullbacks in the middle of uptrends. Look, we have 40%, 25%, 36%, 36, 31, 38.5, 38.5, and another 30.5%. Now, obviously, currently, we've seen a bit more of a pullback, obviously, from top to bottom here. Yeah, we're looking at about almost a 44% pullback, which is a little bit bigger of a pullback than usual. However, I just want to point out how fast we got up here. I mean, if you guys just take a measure from, you know, the absolute bottom of the market, essentially, to the top right here, you know, Bitcoin pumped about 326% in only 194 days. That was a very, very fast run up. So I'm not surprised to see that we had a slightly bigger, more intense pullback. But I want to talk about why we're sitting at this level and why I believe that this level is incredibly significant. So you can see right here with your own eyes, obviously we touched it 1, 2, 3 times and we've respected it. Well, why are we respecting it? Well, it is the bottom of the bear flag, but let's zoom out. Actually, let me switch this to the daily or else the chart's going to get a little messy with all the candles. But look at this right here, guys. So essentially, and stay with me on this one, this trend line that is supporting us actually is the resistance from way back here. Look at this. So when we came down during this massive dump right here, it provided a little bit of support. We bounced up. Once we fell below it, then it turned into actually our resistance right here. We stayed below it for quite some time, acted as resistance again, and when we finally got above it, well, we exploded. And now currently we are back on this green line again, and it is providing support. And you do know that when previous resistance becomes future support, this is actually a very good thing. This is showing that Bitcoin is respecting the trend. Obviously, we do have this lower level here as well. If Bitcoin was to fall, well, then, you know, maybe we would get caught on some of that lower levels, but I would be looking to essentially not go lower than the $7,182 level simply because that was where the CME futures gap is on the 4-hour, but keep in mind, we don't have to close that, okay? One other thing, now stay with me. I know it's getting a little crazy here. I wanted to point out that if we actually zoom in to back here, okay, essentially what we were looking at, if I actually make this bigger right here, you could see that we were starting to put in a bit of an ascending broadening wedge, right? You see how it was starting to get a little bit wider and a little bit wider? So I wonder if Bitcoin is actually looking to do essentially the same thing right here because, and just check this out, if we actually ignore sort of this, you know, extreme dump that we had right here, and we do draw this trend, I do want to point out that this is looking like it's fanning out a little bit like an ascending broadening wedge, possibly. And if it was to repeat what we did last time, which was just in the beginning of the year, well, once we broke out, we had a massive pump, okay? Now, guys, I've given you the bearish scenario on many videos. Today, I am a little bit more bullish, just simply because the fact that we've been supported 3 times by this line, not only is it short-term good, but also the fact that it is such a significant level. I don't know, guys. It just, to me, seems like it is a very important level, but I know what you're saying. Can we please just get above the 200 daily moving average? Yes, let's please just get above the 200 daily moving average short term, which currently is sitting at around $8,766. But once again, for everyone out there, we have been supported, and this is now the 4th week on the 100 weekly moving average. You can see 1, 2, 3, and this time it looks like we're putting in a little bit of a red candle on the week, but we are looking for that support around the $7,700 level, okay? So that's basically the situation. But keep in mind, we still have the halving, okay? The halving is not priced in. We had that discussion the other day. We were asking the question, is it priced in? We came to the conclusion, no, it's definitely not priced in. And you can see, according to Rect Capital, if Bitcoin rallies just like it did in its previous 2 halvings, Bitcoin's price will be somewhere between $385,000 to $425,000 per coin, okay? So obviously, to get to these levels, you would have to have a ridiculously high market cap, which, according to this, would eclipse that of gold, essentially. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like, why is it not possible is my question. You know what I mean? Like, we are so early to this. And when you consider 0.01%, I think, of the planet even owns Bitcoin, I would say there is a lot of room for the upside. And I think that the risk to reward, you got to take it with what you can. But I mean, I'd try to own 1 Bitcoin if I were you.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Anyway, talking about this altcoin market, essentially, look, we're basically at this resistance right here. So we're going to know relatively soon whether or not the altcoins are actually going to break out of this channel or if they're going to get stomped out. But I want to show you one thing that's happening right now on the Bitcoin dominance chart, and that is basically the fact that we are forming another one of these sort of descending wedges. Now, the last 3 times that Bitcoin did this giant wedge right here, we pumped. We had this little one, pumped again, this little one, pumped again, and well, would you look at that, guys? It looks like Bitcoin is getting to the end of its wedge again. The past 3 times we had a pump, so what do you think is going to happen to the dominance this time? If we do have another pump in Bitcoin's dominance, it's probably also going to be accompanied with the Bitcoin price increasing, and you are most likely going to see altcoins get hit yet again, okay? Or at least they're not going to see the Satoshi comparative gain. You'll see dollar value, right? But probably lose in Satoshi. Also, this yellow line right here just sort of points out when we really started the rally, which was essentially on April 1st, okay? So that is that. But like my buddy Josh Rager said, I mean, really, this is what we're looking at right here. Try to get above that 8,374. We said 8,330, I think, just a few minutes ago, and these are the ranges right here. So, take a screenshot if you want. And essentially, this is the range that we're looking at. We need to get above that $8,544 level and then close above these candles in order for us to be full on bull. And then, of course, we have the 8.8K resistance, which is about to line up with the 200 daily. So definitely going to have some intense resistance overhead. So yeah, you can see Bitcoin is, it's going up, coming down, it's trying. But if you guys are looking to trade on this right now, be very careful. This is an extremely critical moment for Bitcoin right now. But that being said, if we do break to the upside, there's a lot of upside before we do hit that resistance, even if you're doing like a small kind of 5x leverage or something like that. So if you are interested, I do have a tutorial. I will drop that above. I do also have links below if you guys are interested in trading that. But fundamentally, I always have to get into the fundamentals. We were talking about Grayscale, and they were basically saying that they have seen an exponential jump in the growth for not actually only Bitcoin, but Ethereum as well. Now, interestingly enough, you can see right here, obviously these dark black bars right here represent Bitcoin, and you can see up here, the green is Ethereum, pink is XRP, they have stellar lumens, etc. But you can see that the exposure to altcoins right here has been increasing, while actually the exposure to Bitcoin has stayed relatively level. So you can see that the institutions have essentially been just hodling their Bitcoin, but actually adding to their altcoin position. So that was something that I wanted to point out. And if you want to know the specifics of it, well, they said basically they've had the strongest demand for Grayscale products since they since they opened, since inception, inflows tripled quarter over quarter from 84.8 to 254.9 million, despite the fact that Bitcoin's price has been falling. So you got to say to yourself, stop looking at the charts, right? If these guys are accumulating, these guys are buying. What do they know that we don't? Now, I know what you're saying. Angelo BTC said we're going all the way down to 6K. You got to take it with a grain of salt, man. It's a very manipulated market, and the whole idea is to get people to start thinking this way. Like right now, people are really losing faith in crypto, right? They're getting worried about Bitcoin's price. Well, that's probably when you should be most excited for the price. Maybe. I don't know. Could be wrong. But just from past experience, it tends to seem like the market will do the opposite of what everyone is thinking, right? And also, the other thing we need to talk about is, as far as what is Bitcoin's value, right? What is the value of it? And I'm not just talking about price. Why do you value Bitcoin? Why does somebody in Venezuela value Bitcoin, right? Well, Jameson Lopp actually made a really good point over here. He says there's many different reasons why Bitcoin could be valuable to someone, right? When we use the term asymmetric warfare in the context of the digital age and cryptography, this is basically what we're talking about. He says the ability to defend your digital life at a very low cost to yourself and to be confident that you are secure because you know mathematically that the cost for someone to attack you would be thousands or millions of times greater than the cost that you have actually spent defending yourself. And that is when the game really starts to change, okay? And I know there's been a lot of criticisms about Bitcoin, and you've heard stuff about the Lightning Network and things of that nature. Even recently, we've heard the whole threat of Google's quantum supremacy, right? Well, basically, Andreas Antonopoulos kind of chimed in on this. And he said, what is the effect on mining and the cryptocurrency world in general that we would have as far as this quantum computing is concerned? He goes, zip, bupkis, nada, nothing really happens. Quantum supremacy, what Google described, is demonstrating the practical applicability, guys, of quantum computers to certain classes of problems. Those classes of problems are not the same class of problems we're talking about when we talk about breaking cryptography. So once again, this was just another one of those sort of FUD articles that just floats around to try to get your attention. But you know what, the one thing I do want to chime in on a little bit? I remember all the ICOs in 2017, right? I mean, we were having ICOs for anything, ice cream on the blockchain, handyman on the block. Like, it was just ridiculous, projects. And I actually wanted to turn over real quick to this Yahoo Finance, and they were actually talking about how the quality of some of the newer ICOs or IEOs are actually a lot better. In fact, they're focusing on things that actually need growth, problems that we're actually having in the industry. They actually use one example right here. This actually is a project that looks like they're going to be on BitBay in Q4, and they're called Quan. And essentially what these guys are doing, they're looking ahead to the threat of quantum computing on blockchains, and they're looking to how they can deal with it now and how we can make blockchains resistant to these type of quantum threats in the future, which is not like any of the projects you were seeing in late 2017, which was like lollipops on the blockchain, right? So I do think that the space is maturing. Actually, you could see over here, they have a lot of advantages to what they're doing: transparency, fast decision making, and of course, unbreachable security. So I am happy to see projects like Quan looking to basically change the landscape and, not necessarily just put lollipops on the blockchain. But anyway, speaking about other types of altcoins and projects that are not doing quite well, once again, Libra has Booking.com. Well, they just dropped off. So Libra not looking too great right here. In fact, you had U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson of Ohio's 8th Congressional District chiming in. He had an interview where they talked about Facebook's Libra and actually compared it to Bitcoin, essentially. Remember, he was the one that was like colloquial shit coins. He was saying that on the thing. It was pretty funny. But anyway, he was saying that it's clear that Libra would be regulated as a security if it were ever to launch. He says because the guys behind it can make changes. For example, Libra holders could be harmed financially if it was decided that a much weaker currency like the Venezuelan bolivar could be added to Libra's fiat currency. He also added that Libra has been valuable in terms of illustrating Bitcoin's key value proposition as a decentralized, uncontrollable digital money. Davidson pointed out that Facebook already filters content on their social media platform and questioned whether people would want that same sort of, filtration or surveillance, I guess, essentially, of your digital currency system. I mean, basically, Facebook would know everything that you're buying. And what if they didn't agree with something that you bought? Well, does that mean your wallet gets turned off, right? So not too good for Facebook, but let's talk about some positives because basic attention is up today. Well, you can see Brave browser has actually hit 8 million monthly users for their crypto-powered browsing. By the way, if you guys haven't tried Brave browser, it's definitely a pretty amazing experience. Now, they did add some KYC to some of the features. Some people were not happy about that, but they are just trying to essentially be compliant, right? But if you guys do want, I am a verified publisher. You could check out the link below. Yeah, I think they're still doing the $5 worth of basic attention tokens. I don't know. It's been a long time, but for a while, if you do sign up, they were giving $5 worth of tokens. So you can check that out. But speaking of, actually getting back to the regulatory issue we were talking about is, Telegram has informed their investors that the launch of their blockchain network, TON, will get delayed and has investors a little worried that they might essentially have to get their funds returned. So they basically want to push the deadline for the TON launch from October 30th to April 30th after the SEC recently sued it for conducting an illegal sale of digital asset securities called grams. In fact, somebody was asking about this in the Telegram last night. So yeah, definitely look into this before, getting any involved in that. But I do want to end on a good note. I don't want to end on a bad note. What do they say? Well, if you can't beat them, join them. You can see right here. Obviously, I'm not going to play this video because I don't know if it's a copyright or whatever. But you see the Bank of Canada is working on cryptocurrency. And if you guys want, you can come over and check this video out. Very mixed feelings. Look at this, 15 thumbs up and 14 thumbs down. Wow, that's so looks like someone's not too happy about that, but that is the situation moving forward. And having a look at what Bitcoin is doing right now, yes, we are at that level. But like I said, going back to, essentially the chart, we really are on this sort of trend line right here. Previous resistance turned support. So like I said, we might fall back into this channel. Potentially, it could support us. But yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that, guys. But if Bitcoin does start to move up and we do start to break some of these levels, then yes, I would basically confirm that that was the end. That was the bottom. And finally, after, 3.5, 4 months of sideways, then dump, then sideways, we can finally get this roller coaster back on tracks. All right, guys. So thank you so much once again for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every single day. I know it's getting a little grueling out there, but this is how it always goes. We have these massive, exuberant pumps, and then we have these boring, sideways, choppy, downwards pullbacks, right? So that is the situation. I do still believe that we are in a bull trend. But, there are some levels that we need to look at that if we do breach them, well, then we may have to